Hi there, my name is Dr. Chris Atchison-Clare. I'm the director of CELMAR, that's Purdue University's Center for Intercultural Learning, Mentorship, Assessment, and Research. And I'm doing this series of videos to walk people through various activities that are in the Hubble, specifically those that have PowerPoint slides so that you can get a sense of, as a demo, how you might use them. So this is not for learners. Please don't show this to learners themselves. It's for you as sort of instructor's manual and a demo of the activity materials that we have posted in the Hubble. This particular activity is for ice sculpture. It's an activity that we have adapted here at CELMAR from another activity that's called Meteorite, and that original activity we discovered met with a lot of resistance, in particular from STEM students who were so caught up in critiquing the physics and the impossibility of the scenario that they couldn't get any intercultural learning from it. So we've revised it, hopefully to address those concerns and make it more appealing to and less critique worthy from STEM students. And so I'm going to walk you through this adaptation called the ice sculpture today in these slides. This is the learning outcome for this activity is openness, and this is just an excerpt from the AACE and the American Association of Cultures and Universities value rubric. Value is valid assessment of learning in undergraduate education. If you're not familiar with those are a wonderful set of rubrics that that outline and then allow you to assess various kinds of learning. There's one on critical thinking and one on creativity and all kinds of different things. This particular one is from intercultural knowledge and competence. And so we plucked out openness as the row of the rubric that is most applicable to this activity. Ice sculpture is the name of it. So what you're going to want to do is divide your room into 3 groups. If you have a super large, like 100 people or 150 people or whatever, you can do different sections. So you can have multiple groups of, say, 6 to 8 people, and then just make a third of however many groups you have Pittsburgh, and a third of them Johnsonville, and a third of them Lexington. So even if you have 9 groups, it will still work. You just have 3 that are Pittsburgh, 3 that are Johnsonville, and 3 that are Lexington, so on. Okay? And then once you have people divided in groups, and you want to actually move them around the room, you've got to give them away from each other so they can't hear each other talking, okay? Or see what each other has in terms of information. So you move them around the room, separate them from each other, and then you basically tell them the story. Okay, so it's the dead of winter, and everybody has this map, and they have where they are located in addition to where the sculpture is. Okay, so the story is on the handout, and they're gonna read over the information that that they know based on their experience in the story. Okay, the best way that we found to do this is with clay. So each group will have clay, and they need to figure out, actually manipulating the clay to try to formulate what they think this sculpture looks like based on the information that they have from their perspective. Okay, once they have done that, you're going to ask them to visit other groups. So they're going to send representatives to go investigate and find out information from the other groups. Again, this is an openness activity, so the point that you hope people come to is that when they have more information from other people and they've cooperated to really consider all the different voices and the viewpoints, they have a more accurate and better problem-solving capacity. Okay. So Johnsonville, Pittsburgh, Lexington, these different groups are sending representatives to go gather information. One of the most interesting things that I've found in doing this activity is that sometimes groups get very competitive and they start trying to lie to each other or hide information. So if that happens, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's something to deal with in the debriefing process and really point out again what relationship those behaviors have to openness and how they can be really counterproductive to our problem solving. So they're going to reform the sculpture out of their clay, and again, take a picture of it for documentation, okay, based on the evidence that they've gathered from other folks, okay. Then they're going to do the same thing, but in the opposite direction. So they'll now visit a different group than they did before and go back and incorporate that information back in, okay. They can change their sculpture if they need to at this point. And then you're going to have each group present back to the whole group what their model looks like, present, and you get some really funny ones sometimes. You get people who are just adamant that they have it solved, and sometimes you have people who come up with the correct answer here. Okay, here is the map as it has everybody's perspective. So the three different places in relationship to the ice sculpture here. And then I think the most important part of the activity is the debriefing. So this particular set of debriefing questions is based on the TIAGI debriefing. You could use any framework you wanted to, but this just gives you a range of different types of questions that range from, actually reporting what happened to thinking through what they learned from it to applying it to other contexts and situations. Yeah, and then that's the insights. So one thing that I wanted to say just in terms of a tip here is that I think sometimes what I've experienced is, especially STEM students, taking away from this the idea that the more perspectives you have, the closer to an objective truth you can come to. And while that is implied, I think an even more important implication or learning outcome here is that that no perspective was actually accurate, right? And so it's not about trying to find an objective truth. It's about recognizing the validity, the equal validity of all those different viewpoints and what they have to contribute to each other. So, if you're trying to understand historical viewpoints, the point is not to figure out what really happened by piecing together, all these different stories. It's really to come to an understanding of the relationship between who people are and how they experience those events, in my opinion, coming from a more constructivist kind of perspective. So I'm going to stop there. I just want to encourage folks to send in reviews into the Hubicle. You can post reviews of all these activities. So if you use this and try it, and like it or don't like it, or have a particular experience with it, we would love to hear about that. And really other people who are interested in using it would find that very helpful. Also, if you adapt activities, you're welcome to send us PowerPoints or handouts or whatever materials you create in your modifications. And that may save other people a lot of work, but also it might give them ideas about how to adapt it themselves to different contexts. So thank you very much for watching, and see you in the Hubicle.